battle I wanted to try an old school build. 6 Oathsworn, 5 Celtic Light Horse and 6 Levy Freemen. Now if this was a true old school build it would have only Oathsworn and Noble Horse, because at release that type of build was a nightmare to face with anything. It was just crazy how much damage they could take, and it wasn't really possible to counter it very effectively other than going full cheese with elephants and chariots. But it's slightly modified. It still retains its Oathsworn core, 6 Oathsworn, but it also has these Levy Freemen to protect against cavalry, and these guys to hunt skirmishers and generally be annoying. So I'm kind of surprised, because I see that my opponent also has gone fairly cavalry heavy, and it isn't often that you see 7 cavalry units for Rome, so 5 legionary cavalry and 2 Soci Equites Extraordinari. Still, Rome can bring a lot of good infantry in addition to this, so my opponent brought 5 legionary cavalry, 2 Soci Equites Extraordinari, 4 of these Vigiles. They can work. They're potentially a waste of time, but they can be made to work. An Eagle cohort, 2 Eagle cohorts, and 5 legionary cohorts. So not your standard Roman army, but I have noticed recently that there is a trend. I don't know if trend is the right word. It seems to be more popular to only go for cavalry and infantry and to ditch the skirmishers, because skirmishers can necessitate a more defensive playstyle and you have to defend them, while bringing extra infantry and cavalry allows you to go straight for the attack. So skirmishers against melee focused armies have, in a way, I feel, lost their place, but we'll see if the game changes. And here I'm just sending in my Celtic Light Horse to attack his legionary cavalry. Getting downhill charges like this, they should be able to win fairly easily, and they also have the numbers advantage. They are throwing those javelins, so they should be able to take down those legionary cavalry without taking too many losses. He's swinging around my flank here with a fairly significant cavalry force, and being caught between these two forces with my Oathsworn could be disastrous. So now I'm just going to charge all of this cavalry with my Levy Freemen. And although these guys will absolutely murder Levy Freemen on the charge, it might not be the best of ideas to get into a prolonged engagement with 6 light spear units. So I'm going to use these guys to chase away the cavalry as best I can. This cavalry fight is quickly wrapping up. I was able to support with my own spears, and I'm actually not going to waste any time either in charging in with my Oathsworn into his legionary cohorts. I have the terrain advantage, I have the advantage in infantry, and I should be able to do a lot of damage to his guys on the charge here, as long as I'm able to keep these guys away from my rear. And I'm keeping some units in support just for this sort of occasion, so I'm able to stop the charge from his legionary cavalry, stop it dead in its tracks. Something weird going on here with the unit of legionary cohort. They are going to die, and this unit of legionary cavalry is going to die as well. Now over here, I think it's quite funny to see these Levy Freemen just chasing away cavalry all over the battlefield. Some rare charges are happening, but only from legionary cavalry, so I'm not too worried about that. Just posting these guys here and popping Unity of the Tribe and Relentless. Unity of the Tribe was a bit premature because it increases morale, but an increase in attack at this time is pretty good. I could have increased the attack value when charging. That could have been more effective, but in this battle it really didn't matter too much. And here you'll see what happens to Levy Freemen when they get charged by shock cavalry. They die very quickly indeed. So there we go, unit of Levy Freemen just being ridden all over, trampled upon. But this is what's going to happen. More of the Levy Freemen are going to rush in, throw their javelins, and they're going to be able to start killing the Soci Equites Extraordinari. So that's the thing with these guys, you can kill them, but there will usually be more. And now these Soci Equites are losing guys. And in the center, fairly standard stuff, 6 Oathsworn are going to kill a lot of legionaries. I kind of blob up here, which isn't the most effective use of my guys. I probably should have sent these guys around. Then this battle would have been over a lot quicker. Sending my horse around to deal with his legionary cavalry. They should be nice and tired from running around like this, running away from my levy freemen. Managed to move these levy freemen all the way around up against Vigiles, and they are actually attacked in the rear. Yeah, they are. Okay, because they're facing this way. I thought he was going to use them to defend against cavalry. So my own cavalry is doing fairly okay, chasing away any cavalry that gets too near my rear lines. In these blobs things are going a bit slowly, but the legionary cohort is losing, and the Roman infantry is losing all across the line. So in most cases the Roman infantry would lose to 6 Oathsworn, but an exception could be if, let's say, the Roman player was able to finish his flanking move. That could be very dangerous for me, and if also if he was able to use some skirmishers to do damage to my Oathsworn. But I don't think you could do enough damage to 6 Oathsworn units with skirmishers that it would matter, at least not as Rome. An elephant could be an interesting choice here, but I think the levy freemen would be able to deal with the elephant together with the unity of the tribes. Is that the ability? I forget. So now the battle is wrapping up. The Oathsworn are grinding their way through the legionary cohorts. The Vigiles are standing vigil in the back, but they are getting surrounded. And you can see they have the fighting cavalry on their morale there, confident fighting cavalry. And in the data files there's actually an entry for a morale modifier, a negative morale modifier for fighting cavalry. So I can't see that with all units that are fighting cavalry, not all infantry units certainly, but it looks like some still have it. Now if that applies a negative modifier to the Vigiles because they're fighting cavalry, I'm not sure. There should be, I think there's a fighting cavalry modifier in the data files which amounts to 0, I think. So maybe it's a relic from earlier games, a relic from Shogun or something, I'm not sure. Anyway, so the Oathsworn are wrapping up the fight all over. In order to win, the Roman player would have needed to finish his flanking here, and I think he could have done it if he had at least what I think I would have done with the perfect science of hindsight to help me. I probably would have continued the flanking, flanked wide, and waited for the engagement until I had the high ground with my cavalry. His cavalry could have defeated my cavalry. Would have used the shock cavalry to take care of my levy freemen. Used the legionary cavalry to take care of my light horse, supported with the extraordinary, and then just cycle charge the hell out of these engaged Oathsworn. Now it would be difficult to do. As you can see, I have a lot of troops left. Still only a close victory with twice the amount of kills. I do not understand how that system works. A close victory with twice the amount of kills and 1100 men remaining on the battlefield, while my opponent has 600 men remaining on the battlefield. I don't see how that is close, but there you go. Good game to Boomer. Quite an interesting Roman army here with a lot of cavalry, no skirmishers, these cheap Vigiles instead. And I think you will see that there will be a lot of armies with 0 to none, or 0 foot skirmishers, especially against barbarian armies and against Rome. You might see very few skirmishers in the coming metagame. I certainly see a trend going that way. Of course, against elephants and such you will need them, but for rush armies and very melee focused armies, I think you'll see less and less skirmishers, because on these small maps they don't really have the time to do the damage that they need to do in order to be worth bringing. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again on the battlefield.